Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Bullets Athletic Spotlight. I'm Jen Maurer, Assistant Director of Athletic Communications, and joining us today is head men's basketball coach B.J. Dunne, who is entering his third year at the helm of the program. So, B.J., since March, with the hit of COVID, it has been quite a whirlwind, not being able to be with your guys physically. You have some on campus, some off campus. So how are you keeping your student athletes involved and engaged during this unprecedented time?
Yeah, no, it's definitely really unprecedented and crazy. Never imagined coaching through a pandemic. I'm sure our student athletes never imagined, being college students during a pandemic. But, to our guys' credit, I think they've done as good of a job as you possibly can handling all the adversity and, all the really just difficult news that's kind of come out, that's kind of changed the landscape and really kind of altered, their day-to-day since March. Zoom has been an incredible friend, of the program. I'm sure as all of our, colleagues and coaches will say. And it's been great to be able to stay in touch, with our guys, via Zoom, FaceTime, text messaging, GroupMe, you name it. We've been trying to utilize everything we can to keep our guys engaged and share and just continue to check in and let them know that we're there for them. And we're all really going through this. I mean, this has been a shock and a change for our student athletes, for our guys, and for the coaches. We're definitely confident we're better together. Obviously, it's difficult to do that right now, but I think this has provided a really great learning experience. And as coaches, we're also teachers and mentors, and I think that learning experience has really been, we can't control the events. We don't influence, what happens, but we can certainly influence our response to determine the outcome and how we look at this. And, we're trying to do that, every single day. And I've been really proud of our guys, for providing their best effort in that.
Yeah, and with the uncertainty of not knowing about the spring semester as far as athletic competition goes, but with that, what are some of the goals and expectations for your team for 2020 to 21?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, we talk a lot about just every day, we want to get better. And we talk about every day competing and putting the team first. And I think those are really simple kind of goals and just expectations. But, honestly, the reason for it is there's so many variables that can affect the season. A pandemic was not one of the variables that our coaching staff thought about when we talk about every day, we want to get better. And, but, you're going to go through injuries. Maybe, you have a poor shooting night. Who knows, maybe the bus is late to the gym and you don't get to warm up. So there's so many just variables that can, affect the outcome of a season, of a game. And we really want to focus on the day-to-day. And that's really been important to us. With everything that we've done with our goals and expectations right now. And, with the guys that are on campus, we're in the gym 4 days a week. We're lifting 3 days a week. We're doing some type of footwork and quickness and agility work with them twice a week. We're watching film. We meet as a team once a week via Zoom. And the guys that are off campus, they have a skill development program. They have a weightlifting program. They're part of the film sessions if they want to be. So again, that whole part of engagement, but it's really just kind of focusing on the day-to-day and taking it, just one day at a time, not looking at the big picture, really, focusing in on the process. I had heard something the other day that I shared with the guys that you can't quarantine the hustle. Like you can't quarantine your work ethic, you can't quarantine the grind, and it can't stop. And, while we're not together, it's everybody's job. We talk a lot about just doing your job, and it's everybody's job to get better. So I don't know if those are the tangible goals and expectations that we, would have in the past, but we really moved anyways in this off season to just focus on what we can do every single day. And that's just be our best self, be a really great teammate, compete, be positive, have some contagious energy. And for the most part, we've been doing that.
Yeah, and so you've had 2 full seasons of coaching on the court at Gettysburg. So what have been some of your favorite shining moments so far in your early career at Gettysburg?
Yeah, I think I've just been really excited and encouraged by the growth that we had from year 1 to year 2. We we doubled our wins. We set multiple, program records. We had a lot of individual guys get some accolades and have a ton of success this past season. And I think, just some of the, there's been games that have stood out to me, but, I think when I look back on kind of where we started and where we are now, it's really, I'm really proud of the guys for buying in and believing in what we're trying to do. And I think that's what has made this weight, that much more challenging, is we were really close. We felt like we were ready for that breakthrough. We showed some spurts of some really, really great basketball where, we took Swarthmore, the number one team in the country, down to the wire. We were tied with 2 minutes to go. We played Hopkins great twice last year. But I think, just in terms of just some of my favorite memories in terms of games, we won our tip-off tournament for the first time in 4 years. And that was just a really exciting game where, in game one, it was close and, you had some freshmen step up and make some big plays. And then in game two, you had really great just senior leadership and just two different styles of games where we just really dug in defensively and were really physical in game two. And game one was more of an offensive kind of chess match. Sweeping that school in Lancaster was really great. We'll never forget that, the celebration that we had, on the road in their, in the visitor locker room, that hadn't been done in 12 years. And, that's a big rivalry game for us. And it's really difficult to win there. And, that the fortitude and resiliency down the stretch for our guys was just really impressive. The Ursinus game this year was awesome. We went on that 19-0 run in the first half. But I think, again, what has just excited me is just seeing the guys' work ethic, seeing their togetherness and their connectivity. And, I think when you talk a lot about tradition and you talk about culture, and, tradition is great, but, you win with culture. And, it's a buzzword that's really thrown around, but you see it, every day. And I think with all the adversity we've handled, I'm really excited and encouraged about what's next for our program. And those are just the moments that, they're not on film, they're not in games, they may not be in practice, but it's in the interactions and conversations that you're having with your guys right now.
And so while you had some time away from the court, you were able to get back on it this summer and being a head coach for the basketball tournament. So talk about how that opportunity came about and how did it feel to coach Division I players along with NBA players as well?
Yeah, so one of my really good friends is Dan Engelstad. He's the head coach at Mount St. Mary's. And the GM of this team, Armored Athlete, was looking for a coach. They had something that kind of fell through. The coach was going on vacation. As the pandemic hit and the dates changed with TBT, it just kind of the stars aligned. And Dan recommended me to the GM who, we had kind of had some contact at points in my career. He was an assistant at Southern Vermont for the 2 years that when I was at Vassar that we played. So, he knew me a little bit. We developed a really good just rapport quickly and had an opportunity to go into the first bubble. I want that to be known. I think what the WNBA and the NBA did with the bubbles is incredible, but that first bubble was really started by TBT in Columbus. And that was a really unique experience in itself, just being in a bubble, getting tested every single day. Basically you were in your hotel room all day except for the 2 hours that you were allowed on the court with your players. And meals were picked up on the 17th floor and you practiced on the 5th floor. It was a really interesting experience. Didn't see the sun until we walked to the arena for our first game 7 days later. So I know what being in quarantine is like. But just from obviously getting to compete in that event was amazing. But I think for me, just soaking it all in, being around Division I players, professional players. I think the game obviously is going to move a lot quicker, but the game is far more advanced in terms of concepts internationally than it is in the United States. So just to kind of get a feel for, what they're doing overseas and to be able to bring that back to our team and to have those conversations to utilize and skill work was really great. And these guys were really, really good to me. they were absolute professionals. We've actually had a couple of them speak to our guys this fall to just try and mix up the Zooms. But, it was an experience that, I'm never going to forget, and I'm forever grateful for, because I felt like I really grew as a coach. And I'm not sure what's going to happen this year with the season. So to be able to have an opportunity to compete and to coach some games, definitely helped fill a void for a little bit over the summer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sure it felt wonderful to be back on the court since you hadn't been since March. And to go back to Gettysburg for a second, not only are you a coach obviously on the court, but off the court, you are involved in a couple different organizations. You're part of DEI and our SAIL programs, which are both newly formed. So why was it important for you to be a part of both of these organizations in athletics?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think being, a coach, I think that, kind of generalization of we just coach, we're moving in a direction where we're doing way more than that. And, when I got into coaching, I love basketball, but I love being around the guys. I love forging those relationships and, having that vision and that goal that, everybody tries to go, you strive for, being part of something bigger than yourself. But I think to me, it's always been about, providing our student athletes the holistic experience and, talking about wellness, talking about social and racial justice. And, we're at such a unique place being a coach where, our players care deeply about what we think, not about, their skill sets or who they are as people, but what we think about the world and what we think about well-being. And we have so much influence, and I wanted to be able to use a platform that I have and to be able to influence not just, what ball screen offense or what our ball screen defense coverage is going to be, or what zone. I wanted it to be more. And, I think you always, as a coach, what's going to be your legacy, what's going to be your mark. And I really enjoy kind of the wellness stuff, and then, the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. And, I think it's all about, fighting for those who may not have opportunity to fight for themselves. And, I'm excited about, both SAIL and then, obviously the newly formed DEI that has been rolling out, and the group of coaches and student athletes that are part of that. I'm confident and really proud that, they're going to really impact and enact, really great change in our current space.
Yeah, and they're both up and running. So if you haven't heard or want to learn more about it, you can go to gettysburgsports.com to read more into that as well. So now I'm going to move on to some fun questions for you, BJ. Now I know what your answer is going to be to these questions, but for those watching, they may not know. So who has been your sports hero growing up or currently, and what are your favorite professional sports teams?
So one of my favorite sports heroes unfortunately dismantled your favorite football team on Sunday. So sorry I had to do that to you, Jen. But growing up in New England, I'm originally from the Boston area, just 30 minutes outside the city. I'm a huge Boston sports fan. So on the football side, I love Tom Brady. I just think it's amazing that he was drafted 199th, and what he's accomplished in his career. He's someone that, as I became really serious about sports when I was, in 5th and 6th grade, someone that you kind of just admired with his overall work ethic. And I think even to this day at 43, he's still a student of the game. And he expresses just a ton of humility. I also was really fortunate. I went to high school with Belichick's son. So I had an opportunity to spend some time, with the Belichicks, and, obviously just being around him and the greatness that he just exudes, and all the winning that they've done, and kind of the Patriot way, that do your job mentality has been something that, I've wanted to bring here to Gettysburg. On the hoop side, I used to watch Larry Bird highlights, the DVD, before every one of my basketball games in high school. So I'm a huge Larry Bird fan. I think Paul Pierce is one of the greatest players of all time. Brought a banner back to Boston. So those are kind of some of the guys that, you know, the sports heroes that I really admire and, you know, think about. And I actually, you can't see it because I am in the office, but I got Bird, I got Brady, and I got a Red Sox World Series newspaper article in here too. So I got to rep, you know, my Boston teams because it's the city of champions.
How did I know that you're going to bring up the game on Sunday? But
I'm sorry. I mean, 38-10.
Hey, you got to give credit where credit's due. Our number 12 did not do very well, unfortunately. And Tom Brady, yes, he did really well, as per usual. So now we have had a ton of time in quarantine. So what have been some habits or new hobbies that you picked up during that time?
Yeah. So Megan, my wife and I, we watched all the Marvel movies in chronological order. So that was a big task that we tackled. We also, I learned how to install floors. I did a lot of painting of walls. We welcomed our first son, Ford, on August 20th. So there was a lot of work in the nursery. So if anyone like in the Gettysburg area that's listening, if you need a handyman who can install flooring or painting, like I might be your guy. Might not be perfect, but I've definitely dabbled in it in quarantine. We've really enjoyed going on walks. I know you might ask this, like what my favorite things to do in Gettysburg are, but we really enjoy going on battlefield walks with our dog Glory and now Ford. Whether that's, you know, around campus at the Peace Light, you know, Seminary Ridge, but you know, there's endless amounts. So that was kind of life in quarantine. Just trying to, you know, find as many good Netflix shows as possible, but just, you know, doing as much home improvement stuff, learning that skill set was enjoyable too.
Well, you're a man of many talents, I guess. I did not know about the installment. So there you go, folks. Another side job for BJ to add to his
There you go.
And so you already kind of, like you said, just mentioned walking around the battlefields. Is there any other thing that you'd enjoy doing in the town, whether it's any of the restaurants or things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, we're absolute foodies, so we love going into town to get a good bite to eat. You know, with the pandemic, we unfortunately haven't really done that too much. We've done our best to support all the local restaurants in town through take, but we really haven't eaten anywhere yet. But you know, we love Gary Owen, we love Mason Dixon, we love ABC. Fourscore has a good menu, so those are some of our favorite spots in town. But we also just like enjoy the energy too of town. Going to the farmers market on a Saturday, getting a coffee, walking around, just kind of seeing the hustle and bustle. It's really nice. And, you know, the fall's a really, you know, beautiful time here in Gettysburg.
Yeah, well, BJ, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing about how your team's doing, what you did in quarantine, and all that. And so for BJ, I'm Jen Maurer signing off. Make sure to tune in next week to see who we'll be featuring next.